that is the Gold Cup hero. Two of the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cordon Star into submission.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. It's myself, Dean Ryan, in the towers of bookmakers.co.uk, joined as always by the effervescent Diarmuid Nolan.
How are you, Dean?
I don't think I've ever called anyone effervescent.
No, it completely caught me out there. I was going to shell shock there for a second, but yeah, Dean, all good.
Yeah, well, you know, there's no scripting here, so anything could come out of my mouth. Stephen Cass has joined us again because, you know, the focus is the Dublin Racing Festival. We thought we needed some more expertise than the very Irish Diarmuid Nolan, and it's Stephen Cass. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. Yeah, what does effervescent mean?
Not sure. I think it's one of those drinks you get, you know, the Vitsy thing.
Yeah, I just had I had a Baraka. Well, I had
That's the one, yeah.
a little version of it earlier. So yeah,
I think if you check the branding on that, that's what it's
bubbly,
called.
isn't it? Yeah. It's bubbly or fizzy, which is I'm not sure if that's a compliment or what way that works. But
fizzy, bubbly, and good for your soul. Yeah, how's that? Yeah, we'll keep with that. All right. Usual format of the Racehour podcast will proceed. We're going to have a look at some of the weekend action that just passed, where we did find a couple of winners. I think Dermo, your boy, obviously, is a good place to start, actually, with Santini. Gold Cup contender is what you put on the notes. I'm assuming you're not going to call him a contender. You think he wins the Gold Cup?
I think he wins the Gold Cup, yeah. The one fear that you have with him that is very hard to shake off, which is very normal thought with him, is he does look at times in a race, for all intents and purposes, like he's kind of losing his spot. But as Nico de Bonville said after the race, and as he keeps saying, is that he's just a lazy horse that you need to keep at it. I think the faster they go in front of him, the quicker that Nico will ask for him, and then he'll find more and more and more. He's not as slow as people make him out to be, in my opinion. He's a horse that won over hurdles over 2 miles 5, beating Black Op, who then went on to finish second to a Samcro. Whilst the form hasn't looked all that great, they're still quick horses. So Santini, for him to get that done that day, does not mean that he's an unbelievably slow horse, which they suggest. A Gold Cup, anyway, you don't need to be a King's Stand winner. So Santini, for me, is a Gold Cup contender. He's the horse who still has the most improvement left in him. He's a mark now of 171 after that run, and just his jumping was a bit iffy at times, but he made one serious error and that was it. He doesn't spend all that much time in the air. Nico was very soft in my thought, and he just he came home as he wanted. He won by three lengths in the end, but he could have won by much more. He's just the kind that will never do that. He's just a big lazy sort, and I just think in a Gold Cup I can picture him being 4th or 5th, turning in hopefully at the 2nd or 3rd last, and he'll just make that relentless ground up, kind of like the way Bob's Worth won, if you remember. But he's obviously a much bigger horse. But yeah, I've been saying it all year, and I'm very excited by him, Dean.
Prep's gone perfectly, hasn't it, Stephen? They said this is where they were going to come. They got the opening race out of the way where he looked, you know, certainly not Gold Cup material, but he won. And now all systems go. You'd imagine there's a little bit more improvement to come. As Demo said, he's got an upside still, has to have one really with the amount of races he's had. Would he be your idea of the Gold Cup winner at this point?
No, I'd be more in the camp. I know Nico says he's lazy. I don't think he's lazy. I think the horse is putting it in. I think he's a genuine horse, and he's a nice horse. But I think he is a bit slow, which doesn't mean he can't win the Gold Cup, because Synchronized and Bob's Worth would be two such examples of horses that aren't that quick. Native River would be another example, but he's able to go from the front. But my fear with Santini is it's a pretty good Gold Cup. So if you have, like, Album Photo will tank into any race. Kemboy is speedy. Lost in Translation if he's there, if he makes it. Like Clandazobo speedy. I think Santini's going to be outpaced, if in my view, when they start racing between 3 out and 2 out. Now it's whether they come back to him. I just think he'll be out of his ground at some stage, and it's going to take a serious effort to get the revs up to come back into it to be good enough to win. I think 6-1's a terrible price. I don't see why he's like what Santini has done this year. The Sandown run was bad. No two bones about it. And then on Saturday, he beat Bristol Demai, who massively underperformed. Like Bristol Demai, I actually backed Bristol Demai on Saturday on Betfair, and I laid back after the first 3 jumps. He jumped atrocious. He jumped the first 3, ballooned them or hit them. So I just laid back my stake and left the bet, just watch the race. And I just thought Bristol Demai, he should have been beating him out the gate. Bristol Demai ran so poorly. I honestly think he ran to about 150. So getting weight, I don't think it was anything near a Gold Cup winning performance. He'll have to improve a stone minimum from what he did. Now he might, but to be 6-1, third, second, he's pretty much second favourite. I think he's terrible price. I'd much rather Delta Work at 9-1. I think Delta Work should have won the RSA, but we'll talk about him later.
I just want to counter what you said about the level of the performance. Santini, and Demo, you come in on this. Santini strikes me as the horse that he's only going to do enough, right? So if Bristol Demai runs below form, then he's only going to need to run above that lower level of form to go and win. If Bristol Demai had gone better, do you think he still would have won?
Yes, I mean, he's the kind of horse, again, Dean, as you said, I mean, this is his 10th ever start. That's 2 less than Champ that everybody seems to be wanting to forgive every mistake he makes. This horse hasn't had many runs, and yet every test that he's been given, really he's met it one way or another. That RSA run last year,
there's a big excuse around that, which is fair game.
He'd missed a week before.
Yeah.
He ran a Kempton before that when on a race course that was never going to suit him. He still wasn't all that far behind Le Bagawa and the winner of the RSA top of the game. So he's the kind of horse that just he keeps improving, he keeps finding, but he just does the bare minimum. I think he's just going to keep doing that.
Yeah. Whatever you think about Santini, do not back him at 6-1 now, because he will definitely be that today. Definitely.
Quite possibly.
I reckon he could be bigger on the day.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I have backed him a bigger, and whoever wins the Irish Gold Cup this weekend, you'd imagine will jump into second favourite as well.
Favourite, I'd say.
Yeah, that's very fair. I mean, I would say my view on the race is that Santini did what he had to do and pulled out in the end to win. And I just wonder whether, given he's obviously got plenty of talent and upside, that in a better race, albeit Stephen's point is very, very
it's very
apt about him maybe being, really stuck for toe 4 out. I'd imagine Native River is going to go with the blinkers on and go from the front and make sure it's a very honest Gold Cup, which is exactly what you want in the race. So it will be about whether Santini can come through at the end. I put him in the picture now, whereas previously I thought he had to show me something. I think he showed me enough to put him in the picture, but £6 or £7 improvement would put him right there for me.
His jumping's not as bad as people make it out to be.
No, it's fine. It's adequate.
Yeah.
Adequate jumpers have won the Gold Cup.
I've won the Gold Cup, yeah. Album Photo is an adequate gold jumper.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Horlicks in there from a few of these, but then, when you're going that clatter in the top races, you're going to get one. So you're going to need a bit of luck. He's in the mix for me. Bristol Demai, he's not going to be winning any Gold Cups, but Dermo, I know you fancied him last year to get a place.
I backed him each way again this year,
I know. Yeah, okay. All right, let's talk about, this one should be quicker. I mean, Paisley Park, the bare bones of that form just looks okay, but he's very good, Dermo.
Yeah, look, we're moving on to Benny afterwards. She'd be very interesting if she went here, but I would imagine that performance being as good as it was, again, he just keeps finding, he's another horse that just does the bare minimum, but I think that performance on Saturday, I wonder if it does temper any plans they might have had in their head about Benny to do going to the stayers, because it's a mammoth task to beat him, isn't it?
It does feel that way. There's a touch of the big bucks about him, but the jockey was at pains, really. I think on Luck on Sunday, talk about the horse is blessed with loads of speed. It just might come across the way that he hits flat spots. Stephen, he's going to be very hard to beat in the stayers.
Yeah, he's going to be very hard to beat. It's a division that always bores me, and it's extremely boring from a betting market
Would it excite you more if Benny turns up and takes on Paisley?
Yeah, of course it would, and it's definitely a runner. But yeah, that talk of speed and running in the Chacun hurdles and stuff, he'd have absolutely no chance. He's not a quick horse. But what really impressed me with him, his hurdling was sensational on Saturday. And last year he had a mistake in him. Now I think he's really ironed out his jump, and it's like the horse has, it's ridiculous to suggest he has more confidence because he's winning these races, but he is a horse that is going through his races a bit better. The flat spot in inverted commas, it wasn't as bad as other races, so he seems to be getting better at Anton. I don't see anything beat him. I think he beat Benny the Dio as well, because I don't think Benny is so quick. Those really quick horses generally don't really stay the hard run 3 miles. So if Benny was mine, I wouldn't be looking at the stairs. I'd be inclined to have a look at the champion. There'd be a scenario if Anton went wrong with Sharjah, that maybe they'd look at supplementing her for the champion if Honeysuckle, say, was still going to the mares. But I don't think the world hurdles for her. I think she's a bit quick for a world hurdle. Or stairs, sorry, it's called the stairs again now, isn't it? But yeah, Paisley Park, he looks, he's rock solid, but not a market that excites me.
Would you run Benny in the champion mares or the stayers demo?
Sally is going to win the champion hurdle, so I'd go for the mares.
Stephen said Sharjah. They've got a little bit of power there.
They have. They most certainly have.
I forgot about Sally as well. Yeah, so they're the same colours as Benny. So if you're Richie, 2.5 is probably her best trip, and I hate the mare's hurdle. I hate good horses running it. But if given the factors at play, if Honeysuckle wins, and you've Salday going for the champion hurdle, you probably would just run her in the mares because it'd be a penalty kick.
Yeah, I mean, look, I looked at it. She's won 1, she's fallen in 1. The prize money for finishing second at Paisley Park's the same as winning the mares. I'd roll the dice, but it's not my call.
No.
Prize money is definitely not a factor.
No, definitely is not a factor.
I think everyone likes to cash a check, I know they want to win races, of course, but she's done the mares already. I'd be looking elsewhere, whether that be champion or stayers, but like you say, a lot will depend on what happens with his other 2 contenders for a champion and whether Honeysuckle does the business this weekend, which we will come on to shortly. I've got carefully selected in the notes here, Diarmuid, a horse that really doesn't interest me too much as favourite for the 3 mile sixer, as we call it.
Yeah, 3-1 favourite now for the 3 mile sixer. Bad jumpers have won this race before. Do you know what? Tiger Roll famously headbutted every fence. This horse is no Tiger Roll, and I think I have a big problem with horses that have the level of trepidation that this horse seems to have with his fences. He just doesn't take a cut at them at all. Paul Townend actually did very well to get him around again the last day. In a 3 mile sixer like that now, he's just going to hate every minute of it. I think Champagne Classic kicks him home, to be honest with you.
Do you like carefully selected for Cheltenham, Stephen?
No, don't think he looks like he's afraid of his fences. He really doesn't look like he enjoys jumping. So if you're not enjoying it, staying the bones of 4 miles doesn't look like a load of fun on top of it. So absolutely not. No, I think Champagne Classic looks a little bit quick for it. So I'd be worried about him as well. It does take a lot of getting. It's a race I can never get a handle on what type of horse can win it. There was a horse run a two runner race. Is he even entered? I'm thinking out loud now. Horse when he beat Mulcahy's Hill, and the name of the horse isn't coming to me, but if he ran, I'd be very interested in him.
It's one of those races that I used to find pretty easy to solve, because you just find not necessarily just the John Joe horse, but one that could have gone for the RSA just below that form, running all the right races, turns up in the 4 miler and kicks a load of average yokes into touch.
Yeah, I like.
Doesn't really happen anymore like that.
Yeah, I like First Approach. This was I'll have my article this week on the novice chasers, and I thought First Approach ran a huge race behind Melindo the last day. I think just like that now, he's just below that level. He will have needed that run badly, and he's entered in both of the races, so it's he'll be very, very interesting. And the horse that Stephen was on about is I Right, Stephen, isn't it?
Yeah, is he even entered in the 4 miler? Sorry, I didn't know we were going to talk about this.
No, of course, we kind of
he's not entered in the 4 miler, so don't worry about that. But he's a horse I really like first day in trips. He might be a Scottish national horse.
No, Welsh national on this podcast,
Welsh
Stephen.
National,
always the Welsh national.
Depends on the ground.
Yeah, we don't mention any other nationals about that one in Aintree. Okay, so all right, so we talked about carefully. I think all of us agree, complete rank value. We're just
horrific.
Yeah, of course, Willie and Patrick will be hoping, and Patrick did the entry, so it's the only race going to turn up in. Okay, anything else from the weekend? I was going to throw OK Corral into the mix, who came back from previous disappointment, let's say, to win a Sky Bet chase.
That Derek O'Connor slap was class as well.
It was a great bit of riding, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I think Davy Russell got banned, didn't he, for punching a horse? But
he got punched. It's a bit different. It's a bit different. Battle of Wills won on the first race on Sunday at Naas. Dean, I know you're watching this as well.
I did watch it, yeah.
Could have won by 20 lengths if he wanted to, but won by half a length under a very, very acute ride by Davy Russell. This is a horse to take forward. Won so easy. That's
touch of the Band of Outlaws about him.
Yeah, really, really comfortable. I wonder what he could end up in, because that was a seriously impressive performance, and just another horse to go to Gordon Elliott and improve about 50 stone, you know.
Stephen?
A quick one at Dundalk, Camaraderie. For Halford. Halford's always improved for a run. He finished second. He's an absolute certainty next time out. He was back from 10s into 9 to 4 and was beaten by a horse rated about 82. Camaraderie, I think Halford thinks quite a bit of him for a winter horse. And I love Allaho, and I was so impressed with his run. I think he's a monster, and he looks like a Gold Cup horse to me. I'd be hoping he goes RSA just because I've backed him for it. But if he goes Marsh Chase or RSA, I could see the case for either based on his runs. But he looked to me like the further he went the last day, the better he went, and he just kept staying and staying. So I think the RSA is the race for him, and I think he's Willie's horse in the RSA as well. I think they want Faugheen to run in the Marsh. Obviously, they've carefully selected for the National Hunt Chase. I don't see what they have for the RSA. I think 10 to 1, if you're getting anything near 7, 8 to 1 non-runner no bet, when that comes out, I really love this horse, and I think he's a better horse. He's done more over fences than Manila Indo. He beat Manila Indo last year, was beaten by him twice, but was close up. But he just looks every bit of chaser. He jumps brilliantly. He's quick over them. He's straight and he's low, and I absolutely adore him. I really, really love this fella. So I hope he goes RSA, but if he goes for the Marsh, I think he could win that as well.
Yeah, they've been talking about this horse down at the yard for 12 months plus, haven't they? Even on our preview night last year, I remember Mikey Fogarty was telling us that'll win wherever it turns up, and it sometimes just takes a little bit longer for it to come together. Certainly looks like it has come together for Allaho. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the only concern I'd have for him is that this year he might just bump into a more a kind of a tougher sort in an RSA. I completely agree. I think he is a Gold Cup horse going forward, but I just think the battle over die-ins and these kind of horses have built up some serious experience this year, and I just wonder, might he struggle to kind of beat them on that.
Well, last year's RSA with those front three that we had with Delta Wet, top of the game, and Santini. This year you can throw Champ, Manila, Indo, and perhaps Allaho into a similar
and battle over dying as well.
Of course, yeah. It looks very, very hot. Yeah. Okay, I'd much rather back Allaho at the prices than a Champ.
Yeah, 100%.
Not that we haven't talked about that on this podcast before. All right, chaps, let's take a quick break here on the Racehour podcast, and when we come back, it's all about the Dublin Racing Festival.
You're listening to the Racehour podcast, brought to you by bookmakers.co.uk. Check out bookmakers.co.uk each and every day for tips, news and the best odds for horse racing. Looking for a new bookmaker and the best sign-up offers in the industry? You'll find that at bookmakers.co.uk, sponsors of the Racehour.
Okay, and welcome back to the Racehour podcast, brought to you by the friends at bookmakers.co.uk. Stephen Cass has joined us this week to preview the Dublin Racing Festival. Diarmuid Nolan is here. Let's kick on with Saturday. First things first, though, the ground has been a bit of a talking point at Leopardstown in the run-up to this. We've had unseasonably dry weather, I'd say, in Ireland. Something that's happened before, actually, to this meeting, and they have to be very careful. They'll have the watering cans out, Stephen, or they already have.
Yeah, they're watering the chase course at the moment because I think the hurdles course is okay. You know, that's on the softish side already and is drying out. So maybe that'll be something like yielding come the weekend. And the chase course, what they're saying is they don't want good in the description. So I presume they're sort of aiming for yielding ground, which is ideal world stuff. But it's given it quite dry and quite sunny Saturday morning. So, you know, you could be looking at softer ground on Sunday. So that's something to bear in mind. But Saturday, good winter ground, I suppose you'd be looking at for doing your bets.
Yeah, I mean, the worry that you have as punters, with certainly so many like favourites running that are going to be of mass interest to the mass punting population. They're all likely to run on that kind of ground. What they would maybe skip it on, Demo, is if it got a little bit too quick. So they seem to have learnt lessons from the past that they're not going to allow that anyway.
Yeah, Dean, you know, because last season, obviously, we ended up with very small fields on the Sunday. So the very last thing that you will want to happen there is that happening once again, obviously. So it's they've learned their lessons. They have to, because horses like Presenting Percy have missed other targets to come here, and they need the ground soft. So the ground has to be soft for them. it's not their fault that we're having unseasonably decent weather again here in Dublin, but it's something that, again, they just need to be conscious of, you know?
Yeah. What you don't want is
the other thing to keep in mind, lads, is the Trainers' Championship. So they're going to, everyone seems to be thinking it's a closer run thing this year. It doesn't seem to be to me. Willie's only 100 grand behind, and he'll probably streak away. But, everyone seems to be saying that it's very close this year. So maybe they'll run Everton, keeping that in mind.
Yeah, that's true. And like I say, as long as it's not quick, I think everything we expect to turn up should turn up where they want to race. The one thing you hate, though, is that if you do get pudding-like watered and rained on ground, that everyone starts then crabbing all the form and go, well, that's not going to work. And we have all that to debate afterwards.
Yeah, it just has such serious drainage there at Leopardstown. I don't think it'll be too bad at all. Anyway.
No, I think they'll get it right. Let's kick on with the racing on Saturday then. The Nathaniel Lacey and Partners 50 grand bonus for stable staff, which is a great idea for some of these. There'll be a few hot runners in here. Demo, I might let you kick off here because I think one of your best bets of the meeting runs in the opener on the Saturday. Yeah,
one of my biggest bets of the meeting from a few days ago, and my biggest bet of the Chacun Festival really kind of so far is Fury Road. Absolutely adore the horse. I think he's absolutely built for that stayers test, and he's built for kind of races like this. He's very similar to Commander of Fleet last season, and then I know people keep saying that Gordon Elliott's horses can kind of flop on the Albert Bartlett, but he won't know that. Going into it, he's built up massive experience. Now that run at Limerick at Christmas was obviously, he made a mistake at the last. He is a brilliant jumper, and that day he will have learned plenty. He had to really knuckle down, and I just think that he's the kind of horse that he'll keep going, he'll keep improving, and I think he'll take the world of stopping here. I mean, the likes of obviously Elixir Danae, I actually fancied him for the Supreme if they put him back in trip, but they obviously have completely different thoughts than me. And latest Exhibition as well obviously is a really good horse, but I just think that Fury Road is just kind of, for me, he's the horse of the division in Ireland, and I think he'll take a lot of stopping in.
Yeah, I think the race against Latest Exhibition, if those two do face off in this, which looks like they will, I think it's a fascinating contest. I'd be with Paul Nolan's horse, who I thought was moving to Willie Mullins, but that didn't happen. So I'd definitely be with Latest Exhibition, but I know how much you love Fury Road. So the 9-2 though over the 7-2 appeals to me. But fair. Stephen Cass.
There's no question here. Latest Exhibition is the best form in the race. Like he when he won a bumper, he beat a really good 120 stick in Braeside. In his maiden, he beat a 133 horse by 5 lengths in Datsy. So he's already into the mid 140s before you even taking into account that he was second to Abacadabras over a trip that really wouldn't have suited 2 miles, and well beaten that day. But to make the mistake he made down the back at Navan, or Naas, sorry, I'm always getting mixed up between Navan and Naas. It was Navan, wasn't it? But to make that mistake and still beat Andy Dufresne, who I think is a really proper horse, and he's only going to improve for the step up and trip. Ground will come anyway to him. I can't believe this fella's 9-2. I think it should be closer to 2-1.
Yeah.
His sire gets loads of good stairs. There's no question over the trip. I really, really would fancy him. Like, his dam was third in a mare's hurdle and won over 2-6. So I think he's really going to improve for the extra 2 furlongs. Fury Road, I think there's a quirk in him. His tail was a bit swishy-swashy coming to the last in Limerick, and whatever about that. Davey then made a comment after the race. I'll read it out. He said, Fury Road would have met the last as if we were racing. Yeah, maybe he would. But there was no real response from him at the last. I hate that if a horse is thinking about it. If he's flashing his tail. Now, he wasn't flashing his tail, but his tail, if you watch it, there was a bit of movement in it. And for Davey to say there's no response from him, I just think there might be a quirk in him. And I definitely don't think he should be a shorter price than Latest Exhibition on form. So yeah, absolutely, Latest Exhibition for me. Longhouse Poet would be one that you'd have to give a chance to, but he beat Monkfish in the bumper, good third Envoyal and running on well. I think he's the danger to Latest Exhibition. But it's a really good race. It was a really good race last year as well, and it's a really good race this year. So it's a great start to the meeting. I'm looking forward to it.
My advice then to Dermo, based on my own opinion and Stephen's opinion, is you should have a little bet on Latest Exhibition just to cover all your messing around with this horse for future engagements.
Yeah, I can completely see the point. Latest Exhibition's form is stronger than Fury Road. I don't think it's a quirk. I think it's the fact that Fury Road completely fell asleep. David Russell was actually on RT last night, and he was saying something similar as well, that just the horse just kind of fell asleep under him because he was having such an easy time of it in that race at Limerick. But Latest Exhibition, see, I'm the complete opposite now. I don't think Andy Dufresne is anything special at all. I think Andy Dufresne has won a bumper and a maiden hurdle, really flashy, and he's looked quite good twice. But I think the form of those 2 races is rubbish, and I'm not sure what ability that horse actually holds. I thought Captain Guinness would have kicked him out of the way had he not been as keen and had he jumped the last. So I just don't agree with it.
I love it that we're a log ahead so early.
I'm not getting into that now. Andy Dufresne's going to win the Supreme, but we'll talk about that on the Cheltenham.
Yeah, we'll book you in for that now. That does sound fun. I can't see him doing that. All right, so yeah, we've made it a 2-horse race. I think we can ignore the fact that Envo Allen's not turning up over 2 months.
It's definitely not a 2-horse race.
Definitely not.
Post, it could improve. I would have been really interested in the big getaway if he ran here, but he ran at the weekend.
Yeah.
But it's a really good race.
Okay, all right. Let's kick on to the next one. I think our views are clear. The next one is, is it the time we're going to see? And Stephen, I'll come to you first. Are we going to see Chacun Pour Soi deliver what it looked like he was capable of when beating Defi de Soy, or are we going to see Chacun Pour Soi deliver what I think people thought was pretty underwhelming behind Plethora last time?
The short answer is I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. If you take the view that Chacun Pour Soi is going to improve 5 or 6 pounds, it should be very close. Plethora was very impressive from the back of the last to the line the last day. So was that a fitness thing, or is he just a better horse than Chacun Pour Soi? 5-4 or 2-1. I definitely would back Plethora of the 2 at the prices. But at the same time, I don't want to have a bet because you see there's Emery in there as well, who's a flying ointment. If Min ran, he'd have a right chance as well. So we don't know. I'd rather see the makeup of the field. I personally kind of want Chacun Pour Soi to win unimpressively because I like Plethora for the Ryanair. I've done some doubles with Defi for the Champion Chase, but that's just my pocket talking. I'm sorry here, but I don't have any hot takes. I just think I can't wait for the race, but I'm not going to have a bet.
Okay, I'm with you. I think looking at the betting, if Min runs, that's the one that's the wrong price.
Yeah, 100%. And there's nowhere else for Min to go, really. So I do think Min will turn up
there. It's very likely run. He won it last year, albeit I think they missed the last, and he was cantering all over St. Calvados at the time.
Do you back him each way, or do you?
Yeah, he's only 2 places though. It's
there is 2 places. Sorry, I forget that.
Yeah, so he might just, I don't know whether you place a small win here on him.
But if Min runs, lads, Town is going to ride Chacun Pour Soi. Is there any point backing a horse? And there's 2 other horses in there that could beat him. Is 6-1 really a great price?
Yeah, probably not. No, probably not.
You make sense.
I just think they have this market right.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so no, I'm the exact same as Stephen, by the way. I've no hot take at all. It's a race I can't wait to watch, but definitely not getting involved in it.
Well, I think the average punter, and include myself around that, has been hearing all of this absolute monster hype about Chacun Pour Soi and how the last day they left it a million miles off race fit. They didn't realise how far off until they went and got beat on the race course. And if they deliver what they seem to be talking about they're going to deliver here, I think this is a one-way traffic job. But that, tells me that
in fairness, Willies, they really, really have come on for the run.
Yeah, they have. There's actual fact to back that up, that's for sure.
And Chacun Pour Soi, there was nothing negative in the run. Like, he did jump fine and travel fine. He got to the last there with a really good horse. So if you can take the view as he just got a bit tired and he's going to improve 10 pounds, he'll win. But Plethora was very impressive, so I don't want to back him at even money to win.
I think he could go off odds on.
He probably will go off.
He probably will. But would you not just cover him for the Champion Chase now rather than back him here?
I have him for the Champion Chase.
What price is he for the Champion Chase?
6s, isn't he?
No, he's lower than that, I think. Maybe 92.
No way, 6-1. Look, I have a point to make on this because I think a lot of angles this weekend. If you're having, let's say you're having 20 euros on any horse. Let's say you're having 20 euros on latest exhibition at 92, right? Yeah. Instead of looking ahead, Cashback's another great example. Okay, I'll give you the example of Cashback. Cashback is 12-1 for the Arkle. He's 5-1 this weekend. Now, if Cashback wins on Saturday, sort of half unfancied, he'll almost still be 5-1 for the Arkle. So don't back that 12-1. So if, let's say you fancy a horse this weekend, my point is have your normal 5 or 10 or 20 euros, 50 euros, whatever it is, then have a little manual double. So let's say you always have a 20 euro bet. This weekend have the 20, put a 5 on Cashback at also at 5 to 1. Then you have €30 that you can put on again at 5 to 1 for the Arkle, or 6 to 1, or whatever he'll be. So your manual double will be paying close on 25s, 20 to 1. On a lot of these horses will be like that. That'll be a much better angle into betting the horses this weekend or betting them for Cheltenham. I think that's something to bear in mind. Latest exhibition, 9 to 2, and then he'll be certainly be 4s or 5s again. 5 by 5 is 25, so you can have a 5 or double there, 25 to 1 to win both races. If you got a price from that from the bookie, it'd only be about 12 to 1.
Yeah,
so I just think that's something to bear in mind.
Chacun Pour Soi is 4 to 1, by the way, as well.
Yeah, for the champion.
So Chacun Pour Soi, if you have a tenner on him at evens this weekend, he'll still be 5 to 2 ish, 2 to 1.
2 to 1, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you have a tenner at evens, you have 20, and then you've another, your tenner goes on at 2s, you 40 back 3 to 1 to win both. That's not a great example, but the ones that are odds against, you definitely would be getting much bigger prices to win both races than you would if you asked a bookmaker.
And the other thing you're getting, Stephen, is the option to not follow through with your Ante-post wager if you don't like the style in which it wins this weekend. So you've got all options covered. It's your related doubles nicely covered with still an option to pull out, which is
it's a manual double, and you, in most circumstances you'll get a bigger price than you would to win both races.
Yeah, very sensible. I gotcha. We're all looking forward to that race, whether it is the biggest betting proposition.
Who do you fancy for the Champion Chase now? If you were to back, if you had an even tenner and just to win, you have to pick the winner, not at the prices. Who wins the Champion Chase?
I love Defi de Soy, but I'm against him for a Champion Chase, so I would back Chacun Pour Soi.
Right now, before seeing Chacun Pour Soi run, I'd be back in Altior, to be honest.
Altior won't win. He wouldn't. The Altior of last year wouldn't win this year. Never mind the Altior this year.
The Altior last year, there's Defi de Soy doesn't bring in. He's beaten Undesau now twice. Altior brings in very strong form. He's been beaten over 2.5 miles this season. And I think Altior has been dismissed ridiculously quickly by people.
It's very hard to know whether that run behind surname is the best form in the race this year.
Yeah, as in like Defi de Soy has beaten Undesau, who's an absolute legend, but he's 12 years old. Chacun Pour Soi so far has lost to El Plethora, who beat an unfit Chacun Pour Soi. So we don't actually know how good they are. Chacun Pour Soi himself beat Defi de Soy easy last year. Again, there's question marks over that because of the fact that Defi might have been over the top. All of these horses have beaten each other up. The only one that's kind of could be anything is Silas Emery, really. Chacun Pour Soi could be very special, but all I'm saying is that at the moment, from what we know with Altior, the form of beating Min in that Champion Chase from 2 seasons ago, he made heavy work of it last season, there's no doubt, but still he still carries in very, very strong form, and I think he's been ridiculously overlooked.
So you'd back Altior, I'd back Chacun Pour Soi right now. Stephen, who would you back?
I'd back Defi. Yeah, I think Defi has shown the best form this year, and he just looks a monster over 2 miles at the moment. It just everything points to the up and coming horse. I think he'd win comfortably. But again, Dean, you're meant to be keeping a rein on this. Like, we've a lot to talk about now. We're going to Cheltenham talk again.
Well, if you're gonna pose hosts questions, Stephen, we could be here all day.
I'm trying to usurp you. Go on, the best race of the whole weekend is on next.
It certainly is. It's in a matter of opinion, but it's a crack, all right. It's the ERSG Arkle Novice Chase. Notebook, Faca, De Dairies, Bapome, Cashback, as Stephen mentioned already. Melon could pitch up here, could possibly also go up and trip. I guess that option applies to a few. But we've only got 9 in the list here. Notebook versus Faca, De Dairy, round 2, though, Stephen. Let you go first.
Yeah, everyone got blown away with Notebook. I'm very, very skeptical. You don't often see a Henry horse jump like he does. He really stands outside the wings, and it's spectacular, but he gives him an awful lot of air. I do not like the way he jumps at all. I don't like the term economical because it makes you sound like you're being shrewd, but he really is not economical in his fences. He absolutely balloons them. Not balloons in an up and down way. He sort of gives them plenty of air, and he's away from the back of the back of them quickly. But I just don't like his jumping style. I think he's so exuberant, and given he's not going to be up with the pace, he's going to be ridden handy in behind. He'll have to make up ground at some stage. There'll be a temptation to throw him into 1 or 2, and either here or at Cheltenham, I think he's going to clatter one or come down and take a tumble, because I do not like his jumping style. So I think there's a little quirk in him as well. His head is up in the air, so he's short enough. Fakir is too slow for 2 miles. 2 miles is not his trip. He looked like a stayer as a 4-year-old. He's another year older. His best form is over 2.5. Fair enough to beat Mellon, but we were making the point about Willie's horses improving for the run, and I think Mellon, will have come on a ton for that. So his best form was when he looked like he was about to beat Sam Crow, and who knows what Sam Crow would have found. So I'm not a big Fakir fan in general. He jumps great, but I think 2.5 and possibly further in time will be his trip. I absolutely adored Cashback. I just thought his run at Naas was awesome, and the way he jumps. He's got this ability to jump really low and straight. Like a lot of horses, they kind of veer left or right, and they're losing ground doing that. He's so straight, and he gets away from his obstacles so quickly. Just absolutely adored him. Thought he was awesome. A small worry in that all the money's coming for Bapaum. So that suggests that maybe Townend's going to ride Bapaum, and maybe Cashback not even going to run. I see Powers have pushed Cashback out to 6s and Bapaum into 3s. But once declarations are made, it'll be Cashback for me. I think he can win the Arkle. I've been so impressed with him, and he'd be the one for me.
Pretty left field. I didn't even think, we've done podcasts before where we probably might not have even mentioned Cashback in the form of this race, but I leave that to Diarmuid Nolan. I think Fakir Didares is going to take some stopping, and I already backed it for this race. So
I completely agree with Stephen Cass. I think Cashback is the bet. I'm hoping that this market move that he's mentioning as well is only the fact that loads of tipsters are kind of putting up Bapaum.
Keely is talking about Bapaum, and possibly Tom Siegel put him up for the
Arkle.
He
kind of looks like the hipster horse, doesn't he, at the moment for the Arkle, kind of like that Durasso move a few weeks ago. So I think that's more bookmakers moving. I'm hoping that it's more bookmakers moving their books in line with potential Ante-post damage, let's say, because I think Cashback at 5-1, he just, as Stephen said, his jumping, because I watched his runs back last night, but that run last time, he's just so aggressive through a fence without ever looking like he's going to come down either. He's a really, really lovely horse. I don't know who you could end up with Danny on him, I suppose, but Danny gets on very well with him. So I think Cashback at 5-1 for all the exact same reasons. I like Notebook, but I'm not sure about all that form really. Fakir Duderie now, Fakir Duderie has to give him less weight, so I just don't see why he'd overturn that. I think Notebook will completely uphold that form, and I think the potential flying the ointment for them all is Cashback. Bapaum could be anything, but he's just not a horse I've ever thought was great.
Jeez, Bapaum was running over 3 miles forever.
Wasn't it though? Patrick Mullins was saying that that's just because there were so many good novices shorter that they just kind of pushed him up. But I can't have Bapaum at the moment.
That says enough to me.
Yeah.
He only jumped around 3 obstacles the last day as well, because there was a load of fences omitted. Right. Now he did jump them really well. We need a term there's no term in racing for the speed that a horse can get away from their obstacles from. You could brand that. We call it cast speed. That's what I want to call it now. So I call it. He's doing great cast speed.
The cast metric, is it?
He gets away. Like it's not that he takes a length out of horses from jumping them. He takes a length out of them in terms of how quick he gets away from the back. But Bapaum is very good at that as well. Willies are really good at that. Willie gets them jumping very low. There's none of Willies are big exuberant jumpers. Whatever way he trains them, because Willie doesn't do that much schooling, so I don't know how he's getting it, but it must be the strength in their back legs that push off from the sand gallops that Willie uses. But they're all awesome at it, showing great cast speed or race hour speed. Something we need to brand it anyway.
Maybe they see fences so seldom that when they jump one, they're like, I'm getting away from that. See you later.
You hear like. I don't anymore, right? But I used to work in the Racing Post and in a commercial end now, not journalistic, not tipping end, and you'd hear a lot from Willie's yard, because the Willie column would be coming in, and we used to sponsor Patrick, and some of the lads are good friends with Patrick, and you'd hear things from Willie's yard. Now I'd be hearing them secondhand, but like Willie basically doesn't school them at all over fences. There'd be horses first time they could see a fence be on a race course.
Yeah, I couldn't believe when I heard that, Stephen, because all you hear from the Henry de Bromhead thing is how much apparently, now again I don't know this for a fact, but apparently how much they're schooled there. So
Henry's jump, they can jump 24 to 30 obstacles loose every day.
Yeah, so like it's just mad. There really is no one way of doing things, is there?
No, Henrietta Knight's book now is a recommendation for anyone. It goes through all the different methods that are used in different yards. Brilliant, really, really good. So I'd say she would have got a fright if she went to Willie's.
She wouldn't be let in. She'd be trying to get them to jump something. That is not going to work. All right, look, I'm very keen on Fakir Didares. I think that will return into the winners' enclosure this time round. But the lads are all very keen on cashback, so that's the beauty of what is a very hot Arkle. At Leopardstown, let's go then. We'll skip the race in between that and the Irish Champion Hurdle. But, this has turned into the Honeysuckle Hour a good few times on here. It's the first time I'm ever going to say this. I hope she doesn't win this weekend.
I hope she wins, obviously, but it's this is another race that I'm kind of happy to shirk. The only one that I've been very tempted to back is Petit Mouchoir. I just think one of these races is just going to fall his way one day.
I'll take that bet, no problem.
I think Classical Dream, the ground's going to be too good for him. He wants it absolutely bottomless, clearly. As well as that, there's a proper screw gun in his head. The ground will suit Sharjah as much as it's probably... He's never going to get it as good as he wants it, so it's going to be ground like this is where he'll properly shine. And Honeysuckle, as much as I adore her, I just not sure about her over 2 miles. All her best form is over 2.4. As well as that, just like Benny's run last time, her run is also very hard to quantify what she actually achieved that day. Bacardi's and Penn Hill are kind of horses that haven't really peaked now for quite a while. So it's a very, very muddling, confusing race. If I was having a good day, I would throw a bit each way on Petit Mouchoir, who I think is really running to the line this year. And if the rest of them were to flop, I could see him being the one to kind of pick up the pieces.
If Petit Mouchoir wins this, the Champion Hurdle is the most topsy-turvy load of nonsense that we're likely to see. Stephen Cass.
Petit Mouchoir, like he could win it. I'd rather back up the outsiders. I'd certainly rather back Super Sunday than him. I think he's got better form than him. If it's on the soft side, Super Sunday over 2 miles, his record is 1-2-1-1-1. He's really, really solid in all these good grade ones. It'd be a bit disappointing. I'd expect Sharjah to beat him. The last time Sharjah has had good ground over 2 miles in grade 1, he's won 3 in a row. So Sharjah, I think, not is the one to beat, because Honeysuckle is the one to beat. And the market, but the last day was very informative when she ran. So I'd be watching the market. But I would have a concern with Honeysuckle. She's not a very quick jumper. She can jump them a bit big. So she's going to have to be a monster to go from the front and hold off Sharjah's charge, because Sharjah's very slick and he's going to make up ground at the second last to the last. But kind of the galloping nature of Leopardstown might suit her. Dermo, are you concerned about going left-handed?
Not really, no. I just think it's kind of worked out that way more than anything, Steve. I don't think it's a concern for them. I won't be concerned unless she shows a chink, because her jumping's never struck me as going particularly right either, really, to be honest.
Yeah, like Classical Dream is a yoke. He's an absolute yoke. Like he's I'm putting a line through him. I could see Honeysuckle either winning or maybe bombing out. So I'm expecting Super Sunday to run a good race and hopefully run into a place. So I've done him in a few each way doubles, because you're kind of getting a multiplier of 5 on any place parts. But he's 20-1. I don't think he'll win, but he's a nice one for each way doubles. So that's kind of the angle I'm taking into the race. The other angle is, Honeysuckle, if she wins, she'll definitely go Champion Hurdle. So if you are getting 9s and 10s, which is out there for the Champion Hurdle, if she wins this and she'll have to win impressively to go Champion Hurdle. If she does, she'll be favoured for the Champion Hurdle, and she'll be 5-2. So I like her in doubles with Benny the Duo to go off 1-2 in the mares, but you get evens and 10s as 20-1 on the double. Whereas on the day that literally could be a 6-1 double, 5-1 double. So I kind of like that kind of angle, if you like Honeysuckle.
Yeah, I was going to throw that into the mix here, because everybody on the Race Hour who listens to us wax lyrical about Honeysuckle is probably on at nice prices for the mares, because we're all over at 7s and 8s and 6s, and now we're looking at a horse that if she runs in it, she got many to do take on, and it will be a short price. But if that flip side happens and she does win this, well, don't bother backing her for this. Just do the double with Benny for Cheltenham, and hopefully you're in a good spot. It's something that you have to do. I think you've written off Classical Dream a little bit early, but
it's just listening to
my
Paddy.
Pocket is talking here as well.
It's listening again to Patrick Mullins, who's obviously a joy to listen to always, and just the fact that he just said it again. He said when you look at every piece of his form, the only bit of good ground form that he has really is beating Aramon last season, who's not up to his level at all. He gets very good when the ground gets heavy, and unfortunately, as well as that, he's as Stephen Cass said, he's just developed into a full-on mad bastard now as well. So it's...
Hey, look, Thomas Darby franked him the other weekend.
Yeah, handicap hurdle.
I'll throw
you
that
have to
in
be
there.
very, very forgiving now to back Classical Dream.
Yeah. That's who I'm going to back. I am the most romantic punter ever to have lived, probably, and as I host this, I'm allowed to say what I want. Classical Dream would be my bet. Do you know what? I 7-2 looks very short.
That's terrible press. Really, really bad press.
All right. Anything else you want to pick out from the Saturday? Because there's a couple of races there that we haven't discussed. So, Derm, I'll let you go first. So there's two in the 235. I quite like Eclair de Buffon in this. A mark of 140 could prove flattering. Has kind of been out of his depth all season, but that form with the notebook from early on in the season, etc., will definitely suit an Eclair de Buffon off a mark of 140. It could just prove to be on the low end for one as good as him. And the other one then is Datsy of 133. This is a very interesting mark. Last time was fourth, but gets a big turnaround with that winner, the My Glass Flyer, who could be running here again. Datsy was very well backed on the day, and I think this horse probably wants further, but with a frantic pace, which will be guaranteed here, I think Datsy could go very, very well at about 10-1. Okay, I was going to take you on actually in that Matheson handicap chase to 235 with Debouché, who I think is a little bit still under the radar. Obviously, the biggest bridesmaid you'll ever find. Debouché, I will
he's not very good at winning races.
No, I'm aware of that, but I think this race is set up nicely actually for Debouché. Stephen Cass.
I'll be as quick as I can. I fancy three, one of them in the Matheson handicap chase. Us and them. This sounds a bit mad now because he's ran so bad the last 3 times, but that was all on soft ground. And his record on good ground, yielding are better. He's 4-3, 4, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. And 3 of those are in grade 1s, the 2 behind the Riesberg and a grade 1 behind our new at Aintree. He's down to 147 now, but I would imagine if he runs in this close to top weight, Oakley Brown would ride him. He'd running off an effective 140. Now, he ran at the Danmore the last day and finished down the field, but if you watch it back, he was going to finish 4th or 5th. And the rider lost his irons. I think JJ Slevin was riding him. Lost his irons at the second last, basically stopped riding him. So he actually would have been a close-up 4th or 5th. Not close-up, he would have been beaten 10 or 15 lengths. But it was ground that wasn't suitable. He's 20-1. If Oakley Brown's riding him, he'll be a big price, and I'd take a chance on us and them. The other races, the Labrooks Hurdle, he mentioned Datsy and the My Glass Flyer. In that race, the My Glass Flyer, Daybreak Boy and Datsy, 1st, 2nd, 4th, were all up with the pace. My Glass Flyer and Daybreak Boy, who were 1st and 2nd in particular. The horse that was 3rd that day, Golden Jewel, was ridden wide out the back. And it was a very, very good performance to come and finish 3rd that day. She did a good run in 4th or 5th behind Alpha Mix in a good race at Navan the time before that. Mares can just improve. Like, she's had a lot of racing, but mares can improve 10, 15 pounds when they're a bit older out of nowhere sometimes. And I think this horse, she has that kind of a stamp of a mare that's improving. She'll be 50-1 now on the day. You'll be getting 6 places. She could be 100-1 at Betfair. So Golden Jewel and the Labrooks Hurdle, I throw a few bob at her. And in the bumper, I think that Eric Bloodaxe is the most overrated looking thing I've ever seen. Willie doesn't have any bumper horses. His yoke won over 2.5. There's a horse called Lieutenant Command, who's a half. The Dam is a half sister to Jukebox Jewelry that dead heated an Irish Ledger one time. He was absolutely awesome in a Limerick bumper. He bolted up. Lovely grey. I'm a sucker for a Noel Mead horse as well. So he's 16-20-1. The bumper market will be very informative. Like, he could be 21 on the day. He might go off 4s. But Lieutenant Command of the bumper is another one I'd be keeping an eye on.
Lovely. Thank you, Stephen. I wanted to just throw in, I quite like the Mouse Doctor if he scraped in to that 3:45 on Saturday. They finally got a win into him, albeit they had to travel to do it for Tony Martin. I think he's interested around. There was bits of 33s around for that. I'd be interested in that. He's got a scrape in to the mix there. So I think we gave 3 in the 235. Debouché was mine. Eclair de Beaufort was Dermo, and us and them. Lovely looking price and a decent angle there from Stephen Cass for that 235. Thatsy for Dermo and Golden Jewel for Stephen in the 3:45, and in that bumper, Noel Mead's Lieutenant Command. Okay, that
I wouldn't just on Lieutenant Command. I wouldn't back him Ante-post at the 16s just because Chickenstown has so many in there. Yeah, maybe he won't run.
Okay. We're going to take a very quick break now, and we'll be back and do day 2 of the Dublin Racing Festival.
Don't delay. Head over to bookmakers.co.uk today.
Welcome back to the Race Hour podcast, brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. Stephen Cass has joined us for a preview of the Dublin Racing Festival. Diarmuid Nolan is here, and it's myself, Dean Ryan. Day 2, Sunday. Obviously, ground might have some implications on here, but we did talk about that already before day 1. We're going to go straight into the 125 on Sunday. That's the Spring Juvenile, the grade 1 there. It looks like we've got a horse here, stone ahead of the rest of the field. If you're just going by ratings, Aspire Tower, it's going to be odds on Dermo. I think it'll win.
Yeah, they're kind of isn't a whole lot to say here. If I was going to back with the without market, I'd probably go on Never Do Nothing, who impressed me last time for John McConnell. But Aspire Tower here just looks the kind of clearing away horse. Kind of shocked that Willie Mullins clearly doesn't have many juveniles, because he doesn't have a single entry here, which, you know, he's done well in this race, obviously. But look, Aspire Tower has looked very, very smart. And going into the Triumph Hurdle, you'd imagine now he'll cement his position up the top of that market with Goshen and All Mankind, you know?
Yeah. Hard to disagree with that. I think he'll win here. Stephen Cass.
Yeah, I think he'll win. I don't like him as a horse. He races with the choke out. He's very keen. He doesn't look straightforward, so I wouldn't like him for the Triumph at all, because the two horses Dermo mentioned and him are all, you know, head to ball front runners, so that the Triumph's going to be a burn up that's going to set up for some closer. But in the angle of Sunday, he just looks that bit too good. So I just don't really have an angle into the race. I think the horse that finished second to him the last day, sorry now the name's escaping me here, the red colours,
the Wolf Prince.
Since. Yeah, Wolf Prince. I thought the run of the race, he was a bit too far back at Leopardstown. I think he'll get closer to him, and I think he'll be the bet without. He was good after, and I don't think there's much else in the race.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we just move on? I think he should be good enough to win that. We'll worry about future targets when we see how he does. The 155 at Leopardstown Sunday is the Chanel Farmer Novice Hurdle, another grade 1. You've got Envoy Allen entered a couple of times around here, but I don't think they need to run again. Do they, Dermo? Will they?
I'm not sure they will. Obviously, Keith Dunn, who's a bookmaker's article, will be out tomorrow. But I'm not sure they need to the odds, but he'd be much terrifically short if anyone had any sort of an inkling that he was going to run.
3-1 if you knew, Dermo, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and there's 9-2 around the place as well. Okay, so he's more than likely not running. I think Abacadabra here takes the absolute world of stopping. As I've said all year, I'm mad about this horse for the Supreme. I think he's absolutely built for it. I think he's just got better as the year has gone on. The one thing that I will say as a caveat to that, though, Dean, and I think you'll like this, is Blue Sari is arguably a big old price here, just because of the fact that he flopped when all of the Willie Mullins horses were flopping over Christmas. He beat the Boss's Oscar, who's come out and franked that from his first run, so Blue Sari could just improve. He was too bad to even count that run last time, but I still just think that form between Abacadabra and Envoy Allen is still the best piece of form there is.
Yeah, there are some tasty horses in behind Abacadabras in this betting, Stephen. Which one strikes you as being the most likely to give this Abacadabras a rattle?
Mount Leinster, I think, is the most likely to give him a rattle. He's a very unsexy horse because he disappointed a couple of times as a bumper horse. But his maiden hurdle was brilliant. Like, he was awesome. He was the same time as Aspire Tower. He would have been carrying a lot more weight. He was 4 or 5 seconds quicker. Now, I'm not a big time fan, sorry, and I sound like I am here, but he's 4 or 5 seconds quicker than Cedarwood Road, who was very impressive earlier on in the card in the race before. So I just think Mount Leinster could still be a fair tool, and you're getting, Willie loves this race, and you're getting what's going to be Willie's number 1. It's a bit disappointing. Yesterday morning he was 12-1. He's now 6-1, 7-1. But I think he'll be 3-1, 7-2 on the day, so it's probably still worth taking. I was very impressed with him. I think Abacadabras is a rat. Don't like him at all. So I'd always be looking to take him on. So Mount Leinster would be the one I'd take him on with. And I was really impressed with Cedarwood Road. Like, he absolutely hosed up just on Mount Leinster. Sorry, the form of that maiden as well. Like, Exit Pole won very well. He was 4th that day. Mount Leinster destroyed him. And he won last weekend pretty impressively. So I do like Mount Leinster. And Cedarwood Road is really, really impressive. He hosed up in a maiden. Now, it was probably a bad maiden, but he'll be like 40-1 on the exchange on the day. So I'll have a $5 on Cedarwood Road to win a couple of hundred on the day as well.
I was listening to a friend of the podcast, and of course our preview night, David Jennings, talking about Mount Leinster as a proposition for the Supreme before it goes and runs this weekend. It's around 33-1 if that's still around, if he hasn't absolutely killed that price already. One of these for maybe your manual doubles.
Yeah, he'd be made for that. Or there's a couple of firms going non-runner no bet now. We'll check the price. Non-runner no bet for Cheltenham here. Andy Dufresne wins the Supreme anyway, lads. You don't have to worry about that.
Not in a month of Sundays does he win the Supreme.
Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong race.
Be careful what you wish for. The Supreme will be run on a Sunday in about 4 years' time.
It'll be a virtual race as well.
You're doing a bad job of filling here when I look.
No, I'm going to talk about Blue Sari. If you just draw a line through that last run, which you have to get involved, the 10-1 looks very fair to me.
Yeah, I'd have him, to be honest, as the you have to respect Mount Leinster. Mount Leinster is 33-1 for the Supreme.
33-1 non-runner no bet. There's only one firm Sky bet 16s,
yeah, perfect. And yeah, if you rule out that one run from Blue Sari, he represents some very strong form. I like Mount Leinster. Exit Poll was good last weekend, but I thought Exit Poll was kind of was soft enough treated in behind, and I just think that Abracadabra, as much as people might slate him, I thought he came up the Cheltenham Hill absolutely fine last season, and I think he's a lot tougher than people give him credit for, and I think he'll take the world of stopping here.
I really want to take him on, so I will be taking him on, but I'm happy to be proved wrong, Dema, because I know that you like him so much. That manual doubles thing for Blue Sari doesn't work for me. Already backed it for the Super, which hasn't gone to plan, let's put it that way. All right, why don't we take a look at the 3 o'clock on the Sunday? That's the Flogas Novice Chase, another great one, of course, and they're all absolutely superb contests. Looks the race for Forheen and Battle Over Doyen and potentially Lorena, although Lorena could head over to the UK. I see they're entered up at Sandown, I think.
I think she will go there. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think you think she'll go in Dublin or in the UK?
No, I think she'll go to Sandown. It's a softer option, and Willie does not want anything beating Forheen. He would hate for Lorena to beat Forheen by a half a length if they battle over Doyen.
That makes Lorena actually a tasty proposition for a punt in the Sandown. I think I was seeing stuff like 9-2, 5-1 around.
Yeah,
because
but it's Willie. You don't want to be
I know.
And she burst the last time. I just wouldn't be going near her.
I'm with it, but she won't be that price, so that doesn't always mean it's the right bet to have. Right?
Yeah, no, she's 4-1 for the Flogas, and she's 11-2 for the Scilly Isles.
Yeah.
I think she'll go to Sandown. Yeah.
Now, if you fancy her for this race, then definitely have a little. Couple of quid on the Scilly Isles, because I think she'll win that. She'll win the Scilly Isles.
This race isn't that strong, really. I kind of wasn't blown away by it now compared to the rest of them. I kind of thought on the day, just as a fun bet, I'd probably, if the prices were like this, I thought Dallas, they picked on a 50-1 now that they know his mark is too high for handicap. It could be a decent bet, or just a small.
They have handicaps in Ireland as well, Diarmuid.
I know, but still, it's. I think there's something in him there anyway. But the Battle Over Doyen, for me, wins this again. I absolutely love Forheen. You have to love Forheen. That run last time at Limerick was absolutely outstanding. I thought Samcro cut out, there was kind of something wrong that day, to my untrained eye, and I thought Forheen kind of obviously picked it up. It was a brilliant performance. He's a cracking horse, but as much as Lorena, we don't know where we stand with her. Mellon, he will be better when he steps up and trip, but I think 2 mile 4 rather in this race is definitely more for the stayers than the kind of the quicker JLT types. Easy game, we've no idea how good this horse is really. Fakir Dudery, I don't think he'll be stepping up until after this potentially, and then you've got the likes of Tornado Flyer, who again I just don't think jumps anywhere near well enough. So I think just by the whole process of elimination, the 11-4 and Battle Over Doyen looks a decent bet.
I really like Mellon for stepping up and trip, and I've got an interest in Mellon for the Marsh, but they've got plenty to sort out beforehand. This
is more of an RSA test though, isn't it, than a JLT test in my opinion, and over the years it has gone like that as well, and I'm just not sure what Mellon really wants a massive stamina test like this could turn into.
Yeah, well, we'll find out, in a day or so exactly where they're going to enter up and where they're going to go. If Mellon was to line up in there, that would be my bet, Stephen.
Yeah, in terms of it being an RSA test, it's still a race over 2 miles 5, just because RSA horses have won it in the past. It's 2.5, it's not 3 miles, so it's not to say a quicker horse couldn't win it. The ground will be important here. I think if they do get a bit of rain on Saturday night, Battle Over Doyen will win, and it'll suit him better. he's shown plenty of class winning over 2.5, 3. Gordon always says he wants the trip. I think he is by far the most likely winner and should be the favourite, just because with Faugheen, I think you have to question the form with Sam Crow. Like, I was Sam Crow's biggest fan after Johnny Ward, but I just don't know. Any form with Sam Crow is questionable, and Faugheen has to go on the way in at some stage. So Battle Over Dion should be favourite here. The one I would keep an eye on for the future is Mythbuster, who was beaten only 4.5 lengths behind Easy Game and Allaho that day, and he really tanked into that race. He was on the bridle turning in. Henry won the Close Brothers last year with a Plutard, so I think Mythbuster will be running here. He'll want to run close-ish up, try and get a marker on the 140. It's very hard to get into that race because you need to be between 140 and 145, but if Mythbuster can do that, I think he's just one to keep an eye on. He could be a winner of that Close Brothers Novice Chase.
Okay, good angle, I like that.
I wouldn't be backing him for it though. He's 25 to 1 for the Close Brothers, and sure, he's probably 4 to 1 to get the right mark, but just keep an eye on him in that context.
Okay. All right. That's the flow gas. I mean, the roof will come off if he does the business there. But as Stephen says, got to go on the wane at some point. Hasn't happened yet. He actually looked like thoroughly enjoying himself the last day, which was
he's brilliant.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's a cracking horse.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if I was pricing up, I'd have him the other way around. But the wave of money that's going to come at you
on the day
if you do that. So you may as well protect your pockets as a layer a little bit. Okay, we come to the big race of the weekend. It may not be everyone's main punting race, but Jesus, there's plenty of angles to look at in the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup. I'll let you go first here. Something's got to go and challenge Santini, the Gold Cup winner.
Yeah, the thing that I'm really struggling to see is how much pace there is in the race, because that will define whether or not Delta Work is your Irish Gold Cup winner or not, because it kind of does come down with that horse to how much pace there is. I mean, the RSA last year wasn't ran to suit, and he kind of clambered home late. I thought last time that other race kind of fell apart more than anything else. The Bagger Walk,
I think they'll have to make it with Kenboy, because Jet's going to make it anyway, so there will be pace in the race.
The Bagger Walk as well, I suppose, wouldn't she?
Yeah, well, she didn't even make it, I think, when she won at Leopardstown last year. She doesn't need to do it. But Kenboy, if you think back when he won the Lexus 2 years ago, yes, and at Punchestown he went from the front. Yeah. So the fact he was somewhat underwhelming the last day, the logical thing with Kenboy to do if he's now fitter is to get him out in front.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, well then, if that is the case, then I think Delta Work at the odds on the day will be the bet. I like presenting Percy, obviously everyone does, but I'm not sure how much ability that horse does retain, and it's all about the one day, it seems. I just can't make heads or tails of him, so he's not a betting proposition. Chris's Dream is interesting, but again, you just don't know how good that form was last time, despite Fitzhenry somewhat franking it. But I just think at the odds, I'm a big fan of that RSA form from last season. People were way too quick, as we were saying here on the Race Hour podcast, to write that form off, and I think Delta Work will take an absolute world of stopping along with Santini in the Gold Cup. He'd interest me here, but obviously it's a race that I won't be getting too heavily stuck into. But the top two in the market, I think, will be the first two home.
I thought Percy was the bet, but the more I look at the race, I want Percy to win for my pocket talk for Gold Cup wager I have. But Kenboy, the more I look at the race, if Kenboy is back to previous Punchestown entry form, I think he's going to take a hell of a lot of beating here, Stephen.
I think I'm going to sound very stupid probably now after the race. I think Kenboy might be gone at the game. I think he jumped rotten the last day, and his head was skewing up in the air. He was jumped right and he skewed over his first 3 fences. He looked like he was hating the game, and I think he might be gone sour. Whenever you see a horse do that, I instantly put a line through them, and he can come back now and prove me wrong rather than the other way around. And if he goes and wins this, obviously he's back to his best and then he's back in. Yeah. But for the purposes of this race, for the purposes of the Gold Cup, I am calling Kenboy as being gone at the game. I hated it the last day, hated it. And he didn't really show much aptitude for the fight either, coming to the last. So I'm going to say Kenboy is gone. And of course he can go and win. Of course, he can improve like Willie's. And of course, Delta Work, he put in a rotten run at Down Royal and then came back. And these things happen. But for the purposes of analysing the race, I just do not like Kenboy at all. Don't like him for the Gold Cup either, because
Yeah, he hates Cheltenham. I'm sure he doesn't run well at Cheltenham either.
Yeah, like he's only ran twice at Cheltenham. Never say he loves Cheltenham. My issue is he's not really proven at Cheltenham. But I just think, you know, he's at his best when he's dominating from the front on a speed track, and that's not Cheltenham.
Yeah, so he was devastating at Aintree as well. Absolutely devastating. He was.
Yeah, and he's not going to get to dominate. Like Monley's going to go for the front because he only knows one way of going. Native River, who's probably 15 pounds below his best and starting to sour as well, but if he can, he'll be going up front. So Ken Boy's not going to get it his own way at Cheltenham, and on the undulations I don't think the track will suit him. It's not that he's proven that he doesn't like Cheltenham, I just don't think Cheltenham will suit him. So that's my angle on Ken Boy. Delta Work absolutely should have won the RSA last year. Davey gave him one of the biggest stones you'll ever see. Davey rode him like he was Arkle. He came between the third last and the second last. Davey did this overconfident thing that he sometimes does. Like he's brilliant, like he's the best rider off Cheltenham, but he can, when he's riding confident, you'd see it in him, and he said this thing can't be beat, and he brought him to the front too early. And what happened was he's actually quite a good jumper, but he's just shuffled, especially the last, and he didn't land running. And then by the time he got going again, he just switched him around the outside of Santini, and he was actually closing at the line. Delta Work absolutely should have won that RSA in my view. He was very good the last day because he wasn't up at the pace. So Monley nearly got away with it in a slowly run race. Delta Work came and mowed him down in a better run race this weekend, which I think it will be, because Kenboy will go from the front, and if he doesn't, Jet will go from the front. Then I think Delta Work will be able to show how good he is. I think he is the most likely Gold Cup winner because he's the improver. I'd much rather him at 4 points bigger than Santini, but I think he'll win this weekend as well. The one I'll also be having a bet on is if Kenboy doesn't go from the front, Jet's going to get a freebie. And if you watch the race the last day, Jet was actually upsides Monley coming to the last, and he then fell away and he finished 5th or 6th. But I think at 100 to 1, there's a chance that he could get a freebie up front. Maybe he'll be 2 lengths clear jumping the last. He will get done by something, probably Delta Work, but I think you could do worse than have a few quid on him each way at 100 to 1, getting 20s on the place, because I think that's too big a price as well.
Okay, I'm fascinated on your angle on Kenboy. I mean, the horse is 3.5 lengths behind the horse you fancy for the race, and he's gone at the game and hadn't been seen since May before. Any even itch of improvement, change of tactics, I think you can laugh.
But he looks, if he's sour, he's sour, and he looks like a sour horse to me.
Yeah, well,
sour horses normally go the other way. They don't improve from run to run. So that's the view I'm taking. Absolutely, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind owning a horse that was sour that could finish that close up.
I don't know.
I'd find a race for him anyway. Diarmuid, final word on this race, please.
I think Delta Work will take all the stopping.
Okay, I think Kenboy's going to take a world of beating, and I really liked Percy for it. In fact, it's very odd now that we've had all this silence before we've presented Percy, that now we're getting the giddy up. The horse should have and probably could have won the last day with a different ride, and now they think he's A1 and there's no training for one day. Am I reading too much into this?
I think he's just being handled like he's made of glass. I think Paddy Aspel called it all last season. He said that there was something serious. He said that he had the feeling that there was something seriously quite wrong with this horse, and that they weren't telling us. That told with his one run in the Galmoy and then his terrible performance in the Gold Cup.
I thought he was minded by Davey the last day.
He's still being handled like there's something wrong with him. Behind Hardline and Min as well, he was handled like they were terrified that the floor is made of lava, and it was the same thing as his last run for me. I think there's a trepidation there, and there's a fear of pressing that button, and that could all be proven wrong, but with those connections you don't know what they're up to either, so I'm just happy enough to completely avoid it.
I can only see 2 winners of the race, lads. It's Percy or Kenboy, which doesn't include the one you fancy, so it should be a good Gold Cup.
How is Chris's dream 6 to 1?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Based on a big handicap win, but I have no idea.
He was good in that handicap.
He won that off 146. It's bonkers, and there's nothing in his novice form. He's a lovely horse, but he'd want a bog, and he's got to beat Kenboy, Delta Work, late 160 horses, and Present Percy, who's obviously north of 160 horse, and he's still 6-1 in amongst them.
Do you know what happens is traders remember what happened to them last day, and a horse with Chris in the name gets backed by a lot of Chris's on a Saturday, and they just go, that took us for a few quid last day. I'm having this in it. Like, if that was to run in the Grand National,
sizing John, all the Johns, there's more Johns than Chris's. He should be even money based on.
Jesus, Dave.
If you had a Grand National full of names, they'd be first, second, third.
I really hope that our traders and our game are a bit more scientific than that.
Well, I'm going to do a back delay on sizing John now based on that, because it sounds very sensible.
The old school traders were more intelligent than the current traders, and don't at me.
Don't at me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, there's a few other races on the Sunday. Now that I've ended that in a crescendo of nonsense, there's a few other races on the Sunday we might have picked something out from. I only had one I wanted to flag up. That was Jeremy's Flame in the opener on the Sunday. Really think there's a bit more to come from that one. Hopefully Gavin Cromwell runs it here. Double figures I thought looked fair enough.
Does it show how bad the English novices are, that Jeremy's Flame can run in a handicap hurdle in a mark off the 130s and be in a mare's handicap hurdle
and finish second too,
and second in a Tollworth, and she's double figures?
Yeah, I'm very keen to take her on here. Like, I think that race that Fiddler on the Roof won was a terrible race. I don't think much of the, exactly as Stephen Cass just said, as the novices over there. I think the Irish novices are streets clear of them. And the one I really liked here was my sister Sarah, who, while she's running off obviously a higher mark than the rest of them, that form last season of beating Kilfenora has been very, very well backed up by that horse this season. And I think she's a very, very good mare, and in a race like this I don't mind her giving away weight. I think she's the best one of them. In the 330 in the 230, I thought Cuneo at 25-1 was very interesting. £3 lower on 134 than he was when a brilliant fourth into Pertemps last season. If he was to turn up there and be any semblance of that price, I think he's extremely interesting. And as Stephen Cass pointed out to me, Dallas they picked on is on a very good mark in Ireland for handicap chases, so he's very interesting. That last race though, the 4 o'clock at Leopardstown, I couldn't make heads or tails of it, and I'll wait until the day. You've got At the Acorn, who could be anything, who was brilliant last time. You've got obviously Dallas they picked on Fitzhenry, but the only horse in here that I quite like going forward is Any Second Now at the Cheltenham Festival again this year. But I'll tell you why in my blog tomorrow then.
It's the right trip for Expatriate if it turns up in the last.
It is, but he could be empty now, could he?
Tough enough race, yeah?
Yeah. So it's a hard race.
In the Thursdays, yeah. Okay, Stephen Cass, enlighten us for those other three races on the Sunday.
Three. I've two. I think that mare's handicap hurdle is going to be a belter. Now Willie has an absolute plethora of entries, so not sure will he run this. But Rebel Oak is 20-1 there at the moment. She was second to Ord Owen. Dermo, we've had discussions. Ord Owen, what's that mean?
I don't know, Stephen, to be honest with you. I'm not even
High River, I think. High River. Owen is river, isn't it?
I've half an idea, but I'm not committing anymore.
After making a show of yourself the last time this came up.
Yeah.
I think
you're
innocent,
Stephen. You're innocent.
Yeah. But anyway, look, this horse was second. She's a little kink in her Rebel Oak. Like, she's loads of ability, but she's definitely improving, and being second to Ordown was a really good run, because after that race, Gordon said that Ordown is definitely going for the mare's novice. Dermo, actually, you fancied Heaven Help Us that day. She was in front of her that day. So Heaven Help Us is the mare of the Greyhound trainer that was second to Abacadabras.
Yeah.
So Rebel Oak finished in front of her, who placed in a grade 1, a much stronger grade 1 than Jeremy's Flame was running in. She's running off 133 Rebel Oak here, and she's 20-1. I just think that's a big price. If she's Anthem, she's off 128. And I think she's the kind of mare that would have any amount of improvement in her. She's a little bit green, a little bit leery, but Willie can get improvement out of them. I like to say, you can build me up. Buttercup is such a bad jumper, but Townend would have to ride her, so you probably still will get a good price on Rebel Oak, because she will be second or third string. I'd be really interested in her. And the other one I like, and I think this could be a bit of a plunge horse, is Portmore, who was third in that Troytown to Chris's Dream. Didn't quite get home over 3 miles, jumped really well, travelled exuberantly. He's back down to 2.5. He's rated 131. He's going to sneak in close to bottom weight. I hope he gets in, because he's number 28. I think 22 run. So he should sneak in. I think he'll be going off close to 4-1 favourite. and you can back him 16-1 and you get your money back. Ballot it out. He is a bet.
Yeah,
John Kiley, absolutely brilliant at readying them for a target. And this fella's a 9-year-old now. He has to be winning. There'd be no messing around with him.
Yeah, that's a great shout. There's already a little bit of blue around for the ones that were brave enough to price this up early enough. So Portmore Lock for John Kiley in that 4 o'clock is a bet for Stephen Cass there. Okay, we've got to the point where it's anything else from the weekend, but it's all about the Dublin Racing Festival. You pick anything out from the UK? Stephen, I'm guessing you didn't even look at the UK yet.
No, well, I didn't. I couldn't even tell you what's on. I have 2 more. I've one at Dundalk.
We'll take that. We will take that.
Yeah, one that was good, and oh my god, I'm actually brain freeze on the name. David Barnane's horse in the last at Dundalk on Friday. Dynamite, sorry, it's come to me. Yes, this horse, he was second the last day. He found trouble twice. Now he's only a small little thing, and 2 runs back was the day when they had that horrible headwind at Dundalk, and loads of horses hated it. He finished 8th and 9th, absolutely hated it. Came back to form the last day, finished second. Now he has to be drawn low because he has to have cover, and he'll come with the late run. If he doesn't like being out wide, this horse. If he's drawn in the first 6, I think he will win on Friday night in the last. That's Dynamite. He's rated 48. He's one off a higher rating. He's rated 1 off 50, I think, and he's in good form. Marnane's horses are running well, and the other one is I'm going to give you. This is going to win. At Maidan tomorrow, he's running. I'll give you the time now. Tomorrow Maidan, I think it's 5:25. It's the 6 furlong Group 3. Let me just put up the exact time.
That's definitely the first Maidan tip in this podcast anyway, Dave.
I think so, yeah.
5:25. Thursday's my day off, and so I've been watching a bit of Maidan this year. And Drafted is the name of the horse. He was third the last day behind Gladiator King and Ibn Malik, and they both run again tomorrow. So you might be getting a price of this fella. I reckon you might get 4-1 tonight if anyone. This is Wednesday. Anything down to 2-1 is a bet. Even tomorrow, if you're listening on Thursday, backdrafting in the 5:25. He always is slow out of the gate every time, but he always then closes like a demon. Now he comes on a lot for his run. I know the owners, and he did a good piece of work at the weekend. And I just think he'll win because he's probably the best horse in the race anyway, and he will have improved an absolute bundle for that run. So drafting the 5:25 tomorrow, he'll win, and you'll have a few bob to play with at the weekend.
Love that.
Yeah, right. So that's all good. So have you another 20 of them now again, Steve, or is that it?
No, he's done.
That's it.
I'm gonna let Stephen compose himself before I ask him for 1 or 2 absolute standouts from the Dublin Racing Festival. So I'll let you get that in order. Dermo, give me your nap of the Dublin Racing Festival. Give me 2 if you want. I've got 3.
So it was between Fury Road and Battle Over Dying. It seems to be a Gordon Elliott fest by me, but I think Battle Over Dying is my idea of a horse in the Flogas Novice Chase on the Sunday who will be very, very hard to stop.
Okay, Battle Over Doyen is your nap. I'm going to throw 3 in there. Latest exhibition. I hope I'm not stealing Stephen's thunder, but I think that's one of the bets in the meeting. Goes in the very first race against Dermo's Fury Road.
Staring at Fury Road's arse.
Yeah, I know. The 9-2 around, though, at the moment, I'd have them a lot closer to each other in the betting. And latest exhibition is my idea of a winner this weekend. In the 235 on that day one, I'm going to give Debouché a serious each way nod. I think it's a cracking price right now. And Jeremy's Flame, who no one seemed to like in that 12.55 on Sunday, is a horse I'm looking forward to seeing run. Stephen, you've composed yourself. Give us the best of the Dublin Racing Festival.
Yeah, the best bet without doubt is latest exhibition at 9-2 because it should be half that price.
Yeah.
And the arguably the best value is Portmore Lock at 16s because he will be less than half that price on the day. But at the same time, I think latest exhibition will win, so that's a better bet.
Okay.
You're always with handicaps. You don't know, but and the other one I love is Cashback. So latest exhibition 9-2, Cashback 6s. Bit worried about that drift, but let's see how it goes. And Portmore Lock 16s.
Beautiful. And before we get to Dublin Racing Festival, Dynamite at Dundalk on Friday, and this Drafted, this good thing at Maidan 5:25.
I'm going to get in trouble now. I'm realising, I might get in trouble with the owners about this. Look, I would not enough people listen to the podcast, do they? Yeah, he won't.
I'd say most of our listeners,
they won't get back to him.
I'd say most of our listeners are so into jumps racing they don't even know what a Maidan is. So I think you might be okay.
Double drafted. If Hills go a nice price this evening, you can double drafted with latest exhibition. That's the way.
Beautiful. All right, look, chaps, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk about the Dublin Racing Festival with you both, Diarmuid Nolan, Stephen Cass. This has been the Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. I'm Dean Ryan. Thanks to Alex on production. We'll be back to talk through all the the winners and the losers of the Dublin Racing Festival next week. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to the Race Hour, brought to you by bookmakers.co.uk, your best bet for tips, news and bookmaker reviews.